Have you ever noticed that a lot of the routines we call self-care can look almost indistinguishable from a high-functioning eating disorder? Yeah, me too. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to eat well, whatever that means, work out. I love all those things. I'm obsessed with all those things, but they're not necessarily the same as self-care. And actually, I think a lot of the time we, myself included, can sometimes package those routines in a way that just becomes like another prison, another thing we have to upkeep, otherwise we're not doing it right, otherwise we're failing, otherwise we've messed up the routine, the goal. They're nice things to do, but if you're interested in real self-care, it has very little to do with drinking a green juice or getting to the spa. It's about self-compassion. Self-compassion is often hard for me, and I bet if you're watching this video, it's hard for you. So if life is feeling a little bit heavy right now and you're struggling to be kind to yourself, here are 5 deep and actually meaningful ways that you can give yourself a little bit of care. I hope it helps. Okay, once again, I have accidentally dressed like Hannibal Lecter. This happens like once a month. One of the most important parts of self-care is dropping your all or nothing mentality. Yes, I'm talking to you. What is the thing in your life that you're telling yourself you have to do it perfectly 100% or else it's worth nothing? Maybe it's, I have to be the perfect parent or else I'm not worth anything. I have to be the perfect friend or I'm no friend at all. That new project at work, I better ace it or I've completely failed. If you're watching this video, there's a pretty high chance that there are a bunch of ways you're clinging to an all or nothing mentality. And it's a really fun way to abuse yourself. All or nothing mentality has a lot of problems with it. Whatever your goal is, say it's a work goal, say it's a way that you want to show up for your family, and you've told yourself the only acceptable way to pursue the goal is to do it perfectly, it makes it impossible to start. And it can actually like paralyze you. I think a really good example of how the all or nothing mentality becomes destructive is with exercise, actually, with your fitness routine. And believe you me, fitness is a huge part of my self-care. It genuinely raises my mood. It genuinely gives me endorphins, because that's science, and it genuinely makes me feel better. However, there are still the days where it's the last thing I want to do. And only in recent years have I been able to make exercise like a consistent routine for me. And the way I did that was by dropping my all or nothing mentality. Sometimes I get to the end of the workday and I know that getting a little exercise will lift my mood. It would be a really nice way to take care of myself, but maybe I also really don't want to, or maybe I also really don't have time. And if I can allow myself to go do a 15-minute walk, that is better than nothing. So you got to be proud of yourself for like getting a little exercise in, and in addition, proud of yourself for actually listening to what you need. That's what real self-care is. It's something you should be really proud of. The ability to like actually tune in to what your body needs, what your mind needs, what your heart needs that day. That's actual self-care, and you should take pride in it. You don't have to get an A+ all the time, because nobody can maintain that in any area of their life. I'm speaking to myself right now, because that's something I think I struggle and think about a lot. That, you know, if I make a single mistake with a friend, or if there's ever something I wish I'd done differently, that it nullifies everything that is good, or it means you're a failure. It is a really unkind way to treat yourself, but most of all, it's a battle you'll never win, because no human can get a perfect score 100% of the time. If you're looking to do some real self-care, think about the areas in which you're telling yourself it's all or nothing. It's everything or it's not worth it at all. That mentality is incredibly unkind to you, and it's just not true. I have a bunch of Maroon 5 songs stuck in my head. That, I'm not sure if that's self-care or not. Talk about self-abuse. Every time I film or record the podcast, I get so ridiculously thirsty. Like I immediately, as soon as there's a camera or a microphone, I like forget about liquids. Which brings me to the sponsor of, can I put this camera down? Hello? Which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, which is Pique. If you are someone who feels dehydrated all the time, which I do, you're gonna enjoy this sponsor. Okay, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm drinking water all day long and I'm also peeing all day long. So it's like something about my body is not registering the fact that like I need to retain the water. I need to retain the liquid. And then I actually saw a different vlogger I watch, who I talk about all the time, 𝐏𝐻𝐒, talking about Pique teas. So I tried it and it's been so effective at keeping me hydrated. It's like it's the liquid I'm drinking all the time now. So much so that I asked them to sponsor today's video. What I'm drinking right now is the Pique BT fountain. It's this guy, also the packaging. The packaging is so pretty. Basically, I just wanted some kind of solution to be hydrated throughout the day, especially when I'm filming and recording my podcast. Shout out to the podcast. The Pique teas contain electrolytes, minerals like magnesium, potassium. These are things that are gonna help your body actually retain the hydration that you put into it. Things taught to me by my nutritionist mom. It's true. It contributes to you keeping your skin hydrated and to your body just being able to absorb water more effectively. I got the BT fountain from Pique as part of their Skin Radiant Duo. There's another tea it comes with, which is the Sun Goddess Matcha. These are the two best sellers from Pique. They're bundled together. They're two of my favorites. The Sun Goddess Matcha is organic, ceremonial grade matcha. It contains chlorophyll and antioxidants that can help brighten your skin. And it can give you a little bit of energy during the day, a little bit of boost without like a caffeine buzz or feeling jittery. The tea comes in these little pre-measured sachets, so it's really easy to know how much you're putting in your drink. I take maybe like 1 to 2 of these a day, 2 if I'm like filming or recording, and it just dissolves into a cup of water. I also like it because it's not hot. It's kind of like having an iced tea or something, but with all the minerals and electrolytes. Pique also only uses the highest quality ingredients for best results. It also has clinically proven ceramides that help protect my skin barrier. Protect the barrier of my skin, always, please. I feel like if I'm not drinking this, I'm spending all my time in the bathroom, just like a non-stop pee. I didn't think I'd be talking about pee that much in this video. Sorry, Pique. A lot of pee chat. Right now is Pique's biggest sale. You can shop and get 15% off with my link, plus get a free 6-piece gift set valued at $200 for a limited time. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Click the link, peaklife.com/carolinewinkler. If you wanna try the tea, I really recommend it. I love it iced. I love it cold. That's my favorite. But I know a lot of people who drink it hot too. So, you know, live your life, do what you wanna do. And thank you to Pique for sponsoring. Back to the video. Anyhow, the next tip I wanna cover is something physical. Get you out of your head a little bit. I'm not talking about something to do to your body, but something you can do with your body. Because for me, I'm very anxious, but I've also gone through like depressive phases or whatever the phase you're in that you feel like you need a little self-care that has brought you to watch this video. There's a lot of spinning going on in your head. You know, you're spinning on something negative that's not nice to you. And I think a great form of self-care is to just give your body something physical to do that gives you a little bit, even 5 or 10% relief from the spinning that you are doing in your head. Recently, don't want to brag, but I've been having a lot of panic attacks. Never really had that before in my life. So it's a cool, new fun thing. A lot of panic attacks. And something that has really helped me is to start organizing. If I can get like my breathing and my heart rate to at least like a functional place, I will start organizing. Organizing. Put the words here, Paige, in my hand. Am I holding the word organizing? Okay, let's hit it. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. It could be better though. And I also think it's just good to do a purge. It's just good to do a purge sometimes. So I'm gonna get rid of stuff I don't need to have. Organizing. This gets you physically engaged. It gets your body doing something. It gives you somewhere to put your attention. Whether you're anxious or you're depressed, like your mind is spinning and it wants to attach to something. So let it attach to kind of a neutral activity. And added bonus, at the end, you can take pride in something you've organized. Win, win, win. To me, The key with this tip is connection. One of the best actions you can take for self-care is to make sure you are getting points of connection to the world. Ideally, that might be people. When you're going through a hard time, connection points are the thing that makes that hard time survivable. However, I found that sometimes connection to a person just isn't available. Sometimes nobody's picking up the phone. Sometimes it's the middle of the night. Sometimes nobody can come over. You can't meet up to see somebody. There was like a hair stuck to my back. I don't know what that was. Sometimes there just isn't connection available at the moment. And so in those moments, the backup for me is I try to connect to the physical world somehow. That can be through going for a walk. It can be through meditating or doing a breathing exercise. It gets you into something physical. But it can also be through organizing. To me, it really helps me to occupy my body physically. It occupies my mind a little bit. It doesn't stop the panic attack. It doesn't cure the depression, but it makes it maybe like 5 to 10% lighter. And sometimes that is a make or break difference. So this is your reminder to reach out, make that call, send a text, tell someone what you're going through. They do want to know, they do want to hear. Try to get that connection point. And if nobody's available, organize your media console, I promise. Speaking of making mistakes, let's talk about mistakes. I was going to paint the living room. I was going to paint it a lighter version of these curtains. So I did some paint swatches and they're very dark. I did a bad job. These are wrong. This room cannot be this color. The point is I messed up. I did a bad job. So I'm gonna paint over these, which is a nice opportunity to talk about mistakes. I find that when I'm in a period where I'm struggling to take care of myself, struggling to do proper self-care, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of self-hatred for me. And I realized for myself, there's a lot, a mentality of like, I only deserve love or compassion or kindness if I've been perfect. And the fact is that I've never been perfect and I'll never be perfect, and I actually will continue to make some mistakes. So if you're sitting there as you listen to this whole talk about self-compassion and you're saying, yeah, Caroline, like I understand some people deserve self-compassion, but I've actually done something bad. I've actually done something wrong. I've actually hurt people. So I can't give that to me. Let me say same. Also me. Also most people. You know. You don't deserve compassion because you've never done anything wrong. You just deserve it. End of sentence. And when you do feel like you have done something wrong, I think one of the most important parts of self-care is saying to yourself, it's okay to just choose to learn from this. It's okay to want to make a change. This is so hard for me. You can like recognize a mistake, maybe a way you failed someone, maybe a way you hurt someone, hurt yourself. You can recognize that honestly and also just choose to learn from it. Just choose to make a change. I did things differently in the past. I don't feel good about it and now I'm gonna make a change. As opposed to I did things in the past in a way I don't like and so I don't deserve anything good. Or so I can never do something better. Or so I don't deserve any kindness or generosity. Like the fact that you've made a mistake doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove the negative narrative you're committed to writing about yourself. It doesn't prove that you're bad. It just proves that you're human. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's okay to just choose to learn from this. And we move forward. It's also really important to always remember to paint in clothes that you actually like. This is like my favorite new t-shirt, so I'm painting in it. And every time I paint, I'm like, surely this time I won't get any paint on my clothes. Surely. Okay, I feel like I need to acknowledge that there's a chance I'm PMSing right now. There's a chance. So is this an emotional video? Maybe. Did I cry watching The Golden Bachelor? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Just the trailer. Sometimes I'll go through these periods where I don't cry for like 3 months, you know? I'm like, oh my God, I don't need to cry ever. That's so cool of me. And then the next day I'm crying in the gym at the cable machine. This is a true story. Yesterday at the gym, I just started thinking sad thoughts. Actually, I was writing notes for this video on my phone, and I just started weeping at the cable machine, doing leg kickbacks, weeping. I absolutely ruined the workout of the nice gentleman standing next to me. I was weeping. I tried to put my head down and just cover my face with my hair so that you couldn't see. But then there were splats of my tears hitting the mats. So, are you impressed? That's gonna need a second coat. So now we're just gonna sit and watch this coat dry. That's true. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. Just pretend I did a second coat. I used to have a dresser here next to my fireplace. It was nice for a little entryway dresser, but I needed more storage in my bedroom. So I moved that to my bedroom, and I needed a new dresser here. And I just got one from Facebook Marketplace for a really good deal. So we're gonna style it, and I'm gonna talk about the 4th tip for a little bit of self-care. Okay, first I'm gonna get the dresser though, because I'm pretty excited about that. Oh God, wow, 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 wow. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay. Are you kidding me? Number 1, is this dresser a little too big? Yes, it is. But am I gonna keep it forever? I think so. Did I get it for $150? Yes, I freaking did. This is an 18th century dresser. I'm very excited. We're gonna style it. But first, we're gonna chat. If you're in need of a little self-care and you're struggling to do it, I would bet there's a bunch of ways that you're being a little inflexible with yourself, a little cruel, a little ungenerous with yourself. So first, let me say, you need to be nice to you, okay? And secondly, if it is hard to be nice to yourself, if it is hard to have compassion for yourself, this is a little trick that my longtime therapist taught me. She also wrote this book called The Emotionally Exhausted Woman. I can't not call it this book. It talks a lot about like true self-care when you're emotionally exhausted, emotionally depleted. I'm gonna link this book. This is an amazing book. A trick she taught me, a little hack, is to visualize a person you feel very tender and protective of. Somebody that you think deserves the world, that you would give anything to. Anything they do, you could give a compassionate lens to it. Visualize that person. For me, it really could be any one of my siblings. It can be somebody that you just want to protect and keep close. What grace would you allow them? What flexibility would you allow them? What like understanding and compassion would you allow them? And then in those moments where, you know, maybe you messed something up, maybe you made a mistake, maybe you have a regret, when you're trying to figure out like exactly how cruel and harsh you actually are allowed to be to yourself, visualize that person you're protective of instead. If they made a mistake, which people make mistakes, how would you look at that mistake for them? It's a lot easier to give that to the person you're really protective of than to give it to yourself. And I think while you're learning to like give that to yourself, that this kind of like circuitous route can be a way of kind of getting there in the meantime. When you're being starved of self-care, you're probably run to the ground. You're probably like at wit's end. You're overworked, or you're in that feeling. Sometimes I have that feeling where like I can't keep my head above water. I feel like I'm drowning it, or I can't see anything. So it can be really hard in that state to see reality, to see what is true, to see like the truth of your actions, the truth of what you deserve as a person. I find it can get very, very difficult. And it helps me a lot to visualize somebody that I would allow any amount of love and goodness and grace and understanding to, because you deserve the same, whether or not you're able to see it right now. With a friend, a child, a sibling, really anybody you can visualize with a future or a past version of yourself. But the point is, be nice to you. Okay, I like to think this goes without saying, but I know somebody out there needs to hear this. Real self-care is taking the time and the energy and the space to seek out the professional support that you need. That could mean counseling, that could mean some alternative type of therapy. Maybe it means medication for you. I have no idea what you need. This is what I'll say. You have to talk to a professional to figure out if that's right for you, which I am not one. If you've been curious about, getting professional support, I will share my personal experience with you. I feel like I've been on all sides of the antidepressant, anti-anxiety, like medication, medicate, not to medicate situation. I've been someone who was unmedicated and probably needed it. I've been in a period when I was unmedicated and didn't need it. I've been in a period where medication made a huge difference. I've been in a period where certain medications did nothing for me. I feel like I've seen all of them. So it really depends. But when I was pretty depressed when I was younger and unmedicated, I tried a bunch of medications and nothing seemed to work. You're doing that thing where you're like, is this the thing? Am I feeling different? Is this different? I can't tell. And then tried like a last ditch medication for depression. And it was like somebody turned the lights on. It made such a big difference. I remember, I was in college. I remember like crying on the phone to my mom saying, I can't believe I almost just went the rest of my life without knowing that this was an option. Because if you seek out a therapist or if you're trying, medications, both take a lot of patience. It's not a quick fix. You have to be like internally motivated and committed to finding something that works for you, which is why I'm not gonna name my medication because it's a very personal fit. I spent many years off of medication. Again, that's gonna be a personal fit that you have to talk to your doctor about. And currently, I'm seeking out medication again. And I haven't found something that works for me right now. It's kind of a slog. It feels deflating. It doesn't feel like I'm gonna get any answers, and I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway for the same reason that you should persevere in finding support for yourself, whatever that support looks like. When you're in a tough space and you're low on self-care and you're low on energy and emotion, the last thing you have energy for is like seeking out support, whether it's support from your friends, a professional, medication management, whatever the thing is. That's the time it's hardest to seek it out. But if you're really having a hard time and you really are interested in, having a new experience, pursue it anyway. Commit to it anyway. Even if it feels like it might not go anywhere, I'm gonna do it anyway. It's not feeling that hopeful for me right now, and I'm gonna do it anyway. So the same that you can sit there and look at me and tell me, as I know so many of my subscribers who are so loving and supportive would tell me, that it's worth trying to figure out something that helps, that it's worth pursuing it, say the same to yourself, okay? I'm not gonna end this video crying. If you want more support, I mentioned the book by my therapist that is really great, and I'll be damned if I don't mention my podcast. If you enjoyed this video, you should check out my podcast because we talk a lot about self-care, therapy, working through emotions. I started with my friend Jess because we needed an emotional therapeutic outlet with a friend. I've had a lot of subscribers write in and tell me that they like to put the podcast on just when they're like home alone, they're doing chores. If you're ever like feeling lonely and you need just like a connection point, the podcast is just like a chatty, friendly place. We're there to lift you up. I would definitely check out the podcast. And most importantly, I would commit yourself to finding support, whatever that looks like, whether it's in your community, professional, or otherwise. Maybe just carving out some more time and space in your day. The same way I know you would look at me and tell me that I deserve to find that, look at yourself and give that to yourself. I appreciate you guys so much. You get me through the days, and I'll see you soon. Okay, okay, see, these are all picture nail holes from me just hanging a million things on the wall. Sometimes I just cover them with paint. Look at this crap. Instead of filling them properly, sometimes I just paint over them. It's not correct. Call the police, see if I care.